investment demand has not really gotten started. And when that starts, when people are going after the silver physicals, it's going to lit up like a fire. And I will tell you what to do. What will happen is the cartels, they will start fueling the market. They have done that before. So they would start buying at the open to try to create the illusion that the FOMO, fear of losing out. They were coming hot and heavy at Hong Kong Open at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then follow through by very heavy purchasing London when London wakes up, and then followed by very heavy purchasing by the futures market in New York to create a big blow off.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Triangle Investor Interviews. I'm your host Lucian Valkovic, and before I announce my guest, just a reminder of a disclaimer. This interview and all my interviews are not a recommendation to buy or sell any shares, products or services. Always do your due diligence and consult with your financial advisor. And my guest today is John Lee, CEO of Silver Elephant Mining, a company with gold and silver projects in Bolivia. John, it has been a while since you were for the last time in my show. Welcome back. It is great to have you on.
It's great to be back. I think it's been a couple of years. Yes.
Not years, but maybe 1 year, something like that. Yeah. So once again, welcome back. Great to have you. Let's start with the silver market. With silver's demand projected to rise in the remainder of 2025 and beyond, due to a role in green technologies like solar and growing investor interest. What key factors do you see driving silver prices, and how might they shape market dynamics?
Silver market, as with all markets nowadays, are primarily driven by speculative demand. Lucian, the reason I say that is investment demand is the only type of demand where more people buy as prices go up. whereas for industrial demand, there's going to be areas of substitution. And for example, in the case of solar, per unit of silver going into a solar panel has gone down more than 70%. So I would attribute to the current rise in silver prices primarily due to investment demand. I've in Silver Elephant Twitter, we had really started about 2 months ago talking of gold to silver ratio, which exceeded 100 again, and this only happened 2 other times in the past. And both times the ratio had reverted back to around 80, and in the case of 2021, we revert back to 60. And that is that gold to silver ratio, I think, is in the rotation of the precious metals money into silver is really, I believe, the key reason. And a lot of people were, for the past year, caught like a deer in the headlights on how fast and nonstop the action for gold is. Went from 1,200 to 1,500 to over 3,300 without any corrections, and people were waiting for that correction to get into silver. Gradually, people realized that this is a new platform of $3,000 gold we're looking at on a permanent basis, and they compared that to 1980 when gold was 800 and silver was 50. It's like, well, and then on that basis, silver got to be 200 now, or even dial back to 2021, the last time gold to silver ratio went to 100. Gold was 1800 and silver was in the 20s. So, silver was 50. So you said, well, if silver was 50 when gold was half of what it is now, then it makes a strong case that silver should be back to 50, and then back to 1980. Gold, when gold is trading at a quarter of what it is doing now, and silver is at 50, right? So you can argue that in many ways, silver should be 100 to 200 based on historical trading ratio of gold to silver. So I do believe that the $35 level is a key critical resistance, which has not become support. The cartel is working overtime. Unfortunately, with the advent of AI and algo trading, they are attacking at 24/7. And unlike 5 years ago, 10 years ago, when you first got into the market, it's a Friday afternoon or pre-holiday attack. But now they're doing it 24/7. The pendulum, I think the box, it's almost like, I'm going to have a tangent a little bit. But I want to draw some analogy because I watch the silver market very, very closely. It is a market that is being picked on by the cartel. It's such a small market. It's a $30 billion market. It's a drop in the bucket. But the cartels and the power that be is picking silver, particularly to make a statement. And even more so than gold, but gold, they lost a handle on that. So what's happened to silver is, imagine you're packing, imagine your wife, because for me, I pack very light. Imagine your wife or girlfriend who is packing for holiday and they have this suitcase carry-on that can only stuff so much. And she's just trying to squeeze that very last, whatever, right? Makeup kit, vanity kits, and clothes and summer clothes and winter clothes and jacket and sandals and high heel shoes and boots and all that. And it's been suppressed just to the extent that's unfathomable that eventually a zipper is gonna pop out and the whole thing is just gonna get blown up. Happy to spend a few minutes on how the cartel can manage the market. I watch it very, very closely, but there's no question that if silver were to left to trade on its own merits, it would have been at least 3 times higher in the triple digit, in my view. $50 is a very arbitrary number, as I mentioned earlier to you before the start of the interview. There's virtually no volume. Well, there's only a few days of trading, not even weeks of trading in that level. So nobody really knows what happens when silver takes out 35, which is what we are looking at right now. There is some last gap efforts to try to put the lid back to under 35. I don't think it's going to happen. If silver were to stay in above 35 for another, say by the end of June, you're going to see a permanently higher level in the 40s, and after that it's anybody's games. And what's also particularly impressive is the timing of this uprise. Very similar to 2021 when silver went from 14 to 28. That 1428 that happened in July. And let me backtrack a bit. Last time it was 50, it was 2011. The 2021 breakout was from 14 to 28. The 2011 breakout was from 17 to 50. But both times when that sort of rally happens, it's all taking place in a very, very short time period, in the period of 4 to 6 weeks. And that is what we're looking at right now.
Yeah, John, how big is the disconnect between the paper market and the physical market, in your view?
You can look at the spread of numismatics versus the COMEX trading price. I haven't checked the price of numismatics, but last time I checked, when silver was in the low 20s and a silver coin is trading in the mid 30s. So you're looking at a premium at around 30% to 40%. That level usually indicate that the market is topped out. But I think the margin is going to continue to widen. I recommend anybody accumulate physicals, go after the numismatics. It's kind of a keen. I came to compare. It's kind of like you are buying steel as investment versus Rolex in a way. So there's a very big disconnect, and what you're looking at is the tail wagging the dog. Unfortunately, the producers, silver producers, are majority of the silver mining is by product credit, and they're looking at what's being printed on the screen of the price, and they are feeding into the market. And in a given week, silver volume is trading at a billion ounces, 200 million ounces per day in futures trading is an average nowadays, and total world production and my production is 1 billion ounces. So in a given week's volume in the futures market, you're looking at a equivalent to the annual supply of silver. But this is not only silver particular. This is the same for all the futures market, for oil, for everything. And you can witness what happened in oil during the pandemic. It went negative. It's not the world doesn't consume oil anymore. So there's a big disconnect to silver, just like palladium back in the late 2018s, when palladium went from 1,300 to 2,500 in a matter of weeks. And you look at other markets like cobalt and lithium and etc., right? And they all have their peaks and troughs. I don't think it's any different from silver. And the reason I think silver, after spectacular meteoric rise we're going to witness, is going to have a major correction as well. And part of that is also attributed to cartel. Again, we can talk more about that.
Definitely. But let's start with your projects maybe first. I want to hear more about the projects you have in the pipeline. Like I said, you are in Bolivia. You have, I've read your recent news releases from June 10, I believe, Paca Apuradita milestone. You have news release highlighted that you reached a high-grade silver zone over there at the tunnel. With preparations for first concentrate sales in June, if I remember correctly. Can you share details on the operational progress, such as ore quality or production targets, and what this means for your company's position in Bolivia?
Certainly, the Apuradita high-grade silver tunnel has been in the works since this time last year. And we've managed to advance a horizontal tunnel into a dome where the mineralization is situated from sort of above surface inside the dome to below surface. So what we're doing is digging a horizontal tunnel into the dome, into the Paca dome, to access the areas above the horizontal surface level. And the grades are the grades according to historical drill holes and the drill holes by Silver Elephant is averaging at around 400 grams. So it's very, very high grade silver, and we certainly would believe generate cash flow in today's silver prices. And the company is generating stockpiling ore that we produce right now. The rates are at around 20 to 50 tons a day. It's still slightly behind target. Part of that is just a lot of the supplies like fuel and access to infrastructure is be challenging in Bolivia right now with the election coming in August, 2 months from now, and the company is going through a bit of a turmoil in currency. They're running out of U.S. dollars. Having sort of overextended their social programs and having lack of investment in the oil and gas field, of which they generate the majority of their foreign reserve. So we feel very confident that revenue recognition, revenue generation, cash flow will start in June. We're finalizing an offtake agreement with a prominent trader, of which we'll probably release very, very, very soon. You're looking at around 50 to 100,000 ounces of silver production in the coming quarter. It's not a big number. Nonetheless, it's very high margin. I mean, a typical silver underground project that you see from Silver Juniors are averaging at around 200 grams. So we're doubling that. Essentially, you're looking at our production number doubling other companies, right? Because our margins are doubled of the typical silver project.
Yeah, what do you expect next in the terms of cash flow from this?
Well, first of all, we got to connect the dots. Get the stockpile, stabilize our production rate, transport that stockpiled resources to a processing facility which you outsource, and it's a very reasonable rate, around $30 to $35 a ton. And then establish a relationship with the toll milling processor and the offtaker. From there, we're looking to scale up our project. Keep in mind also that from 2023 to late 2024, December 2024, the open pit area of the project had been in production for over 1.5 million ounces in less than 18 months. Unfortunately, like I said, that key area is under mining production contract of a concession owned by the government instead of owning by Silver Elephant per the Apuradita tunnel. And that contract is canceled right now. Nobody has provided a reason for that. We believe that there is some external influence given what's going on in Bolivia of just the geopolitical uncertainties. We're very confident. Well, we feel optimistic that the contract will be restated once the politics situation calm down. And in the meantime, this area contract cannot be awarded to anybody else until the court clears the case. And that might take 2 to 3 years. So in the meantime, the government agencies, COMIBOL, they are able to restate the contract at any time. once there's no evidence of the reason for the cancellation. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah, I'm glad that you clarified that. Quick return, you mentioned tool milling for this in the same news release. The tool milling was mentioned for
Yes.
Paca Apuradita. Can you elaborate on the structure of this agreement and their expected contribution to Silver Elephant's revenue?
Right. It's a very important element. Bolivia today is still the sixth largest silver producer in the world, despite lack of foreign investment. It actually produces more silver than Argentina because they share the same mineral belt trend. And silver production in Argentina goes almost near to the Bolivian border. Same with Bolivia's silver production all the way to the Argentine border. It is a very standard toll milling agreement where they charge. There's no profit sharing with the silver silver resource that we provide to them. So it's a standard toll milling agreement where they provide the processing facility, the utilities, the agents to transform silver rocks out of the ground that we gave them to a silver concentrate, of which then will go to the smelter. There are well over 100 independent toll milling facilities in the general vicinity because a lot of the mining operation, besides the top, I would say the top 5 silver producers in Bolivia, you have hundreds of these smaller miners that are cooperative miners that are generating 20% of the revenue, but nonetheless is still a significant presence, and they rely on third-party processors to convert to make money. So we're looking to finalize that contract with one of the toll millers within June. That's our target, because what happened is it has to be an arrangement where the off-taker and the toll miller contracts are signed off concurrently, because eventually all have to work together. Whatever the concentrate come out of the toll mill has to be fed to the off-taker, and then we also have to deal with export paperwork of our silver concentrate to the international market, so that all the upside of our products can be realized by international prices and not be captivated inside Bolivia.
Okay, let's move to Pulacayo project update. It has more than 106, I believe, million ounces of indicated silver resources. It is actually a cornerstone for your company's portfolio. Can you provide me an update on the efforts of reinstate the mining production contract with the Combol and any planned exploration or development activities for the remainder of 2025?
Yeah, you came well prepared with your question. Pulacayo and Paca is the district. So the district is called Pulacayo, and within that there is the Pulacayo mining belt, and there is the Paca open pit deposit. So the 109 million ounces are about 70-30. About 70 million ounces is the Pulacayo high-grade area, where historically 600 million ounces been mined. And then the 30 million ounces in the Paca area that consists of the open pit area and the Apuradita deposit. The mining production contract, which covers majority of the Pulacayo areas, is right now under dispute with Combol. And there is a small area of Paca, as I mentioned, Apuradita, that's not affected by the mining production contract, as it was titled directly to Silver Elephant's Bolivia subsidiary's name, as under production now. We continue to engage with the discussion with the government. We have all the requisite permits, and we believe all of our minings are done within the parameters of the permit, and we have also environmental permit to operate the areas, Paca. And I think the issue is that it's just like in this current political environment, there are some external influence that we are experiencing, and which we're working through. But at this point, there's no foundation for the cancellation of the contract, and until the court clears and sides with the government, which we don't believe will be the case, because as I said, I think the court there's no foundation for the cancellation, and we're working with the current government to restate the contract. And barring that, if we cannot make progress to restate it, there's an election in August. The Communist management change on an annual basis every year. And then so when the new people came, that we were able to reapproach them. So we know these people quite well. I've been in Bolivia for more than 10 years. So we're quite optimistic that things will turn around. We still have very strong community support, and we still continue to be one of the largest employer of Pulacayo town and community.
Yeah, how many people do you employ?
Right now, we used to have around 30 to 50. And in the Apuradita tunnel, we have right now around 10 to 15. All of our employees, people working in Bolivia, are Bolivian national, and majority of the people working in the tunnel are sourced from Pulacayo communities.
Sure. Okay. El Triunfo Gold Antimony Project. I believe I saw press release from April or May, sorry, where you announced the transfer of rights to El Triunfo Gold Antimony Project to Clean Tech. What factors led to this decision, and how does it align with Silver Elephant's focus on silver and other metals?
We try to divest non-core assets, Silver Elephant, to raise some money to get us into production, like we're doing with Apuradita, and also what we did with Paca open pit, and to minimize our dilution. That is really the reason. And we got some money for Triunfo. And there's still potentially for Elephant to back into that project if Elephant managed to raise money to get the project back. And in the last 4 years, since 2000, we've gone through very tough times from 2021. We've raised a few $1 million, but our dilution is less than about 30 to 40%, versus most of the junior company already doubled their share count. So I think we're very careful in our share register at around 44 million shares. I think that started 2021, we're just under 30, around 30. And our market cap right now, even though it's gone up about 20%, we're still about 15 million market cap. Whereas our peers with no production history, no exploration history, even no resource are trading at 2 to 3 times higher. And I think there's a number of factors, a bit of disconnect between ourselves and the investment community. And part of the reason is, Lucia, I was trying so hard to try to get that contract restated. So I was really focusing on, getting our house in order and getting the production starting at Apuradita. And now we have, and that's why we are reintroducing the story back to the market. And I think we're very undervalued right now, given which is what we have in production, in the potential of Apuradita tunnel. But if the mining production gets restated, you're looking at 100 million ounces of silver that's well established with strong community support and a production track record. You'll be looking at value comparable peer comps with the Aber Silver or AGX or Impact Silver. There is a slew of them, at least 3 to 5 times higher based on peer comparison.
You made a good point about
configuration.
You made a good point about the undervaluation. Do you believe that the Bolivian factor is the only one that is investors are taking into consideration, or something else? What's your take?
Bolivia I don't think Bolivia is tougher to do business than, say, in Mexico. Every country has their own issues. Having been in the industry for more than 30 years and visited mining projects all over the world in over a dozen countries, the geopolitics, the political risk is really residing at the project level, jurisdiction on the regional level. It's not so much on the federal level. So our peers in Bolivia are still trading at market caps higher than ours. So I don't think the Bolivian factor is entirely the explanation. And Lucia, I have to say, probably because there's so much enthusiasm and interest every time we bring the story to the market. If you look at the historical trading of patterns of Silver Elephant, they're really great projects. That's why being targeted by sometimes other people. It's happened before. And our market cap is being over $100 million several times. However, when things go wrong, so for some reason, John Lee's project is always, Elephant's project is always on the chopping block. Because all of a sudden, John Lee is busy fixing problems, and there is that void sometimes and that's why you got this very hyperbole actions on the way up, but then sort of a letdown on the way down. We still have very strong shareholder support because they understand the nature of the beast, and most importantly, they understand the potential of the projects. In the end, it's about Warren Buffett says you want to buy low and you want to sell high. And I think that especially in the resource market where markets are extremely volatile because the underlying metal prices are volatile, and then you add the exploration risk and political risk on top of that. If you can enter at 20% below, 20% from the bottom and manage to sell 30% from the top, you'll be doing extremely well. And if you're bullish on silver, and you're looking at and the management that's working very hard to get the contract and to get the problem solved, and I'm participating in every single private placement, and I'm substantially underwater, and so the management interest is aligned with the shareholders. And in an area we know how it operates, we feel very optimistic that the boat is being turned around, starting with Apuradita cash flow production, and then continued efforts in getting our contract back.
Yeah, John, I appreciate the honesty. And you mentioned participation in private placement. You had private placement, I believe, a few days ago. You announced a private placement. It was upsized from, I believe, to remind me of the numbers. Sorry, I didn't.
Certainly. We announced a $200,000 private placement. We upsized to 220. That's really the limit imposed by the exchange without requiring a shareholder approval.
Sure.
Given that we're listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange, not the Toronto Ventures Exchange, so the dilution factor is being more limited. But that is entirely spoken within the first 2 hours of announcing the.
That's great to hear. My question is, where are the funds going? What strategic priorities do you have here?
Right. It is going towards working capital to bring the Apuradita to cash flow. Because what we're having right now is, great, we have mined and we're digging high-grade materials out of the tunnel, but we have to pay the truckers. We have to pay the tow milling people before we can actually realize revenue. So that goes towards working capital to make sure that we get to the revenue stream. And also, I do want to mention, because the activities dialed down, we do have management that has elected and up to reduce their time spent in ELEF into a part-time position. We're looking to manage, and we have let some people go to try to cut our expenses, cut off all discretionary expenses to make sure that we minimizes our dilution.
Okay. I remember from our last interview that you had a thermal coal project. And we discussed back then about that project. What is the current plan, status of that project?
Yes, I'm actually in Bolivia right now to look after our coal project. It's well over 1 billion tons of coal that do not require processing. It is producing a small quantity to serve within the Mongolian domestic market. We've made about elephant generated revenue at around $200,000 this year. By leasing the mine to a third party operating, and we're getting a royalty from that. So the license is good standing, the community is good standing, but coal prices are down because the slowdown in the Chinese economy. So we're not tapping into the export market right now, but rather serving the domestic Mongolian coal market. So it is a revenue neutral. It's just enough to cover our expenses in Mongolia. So it's a net revenue neutral project, but eventually if there's an uptick in the coal prices, you're looking at a huge open pit coal field, and that with the mining production of mining costs less than $5 a ton, you can turn it around and sell it for $100 a ton. It's a very lucrative project. It's just it's highly dependent on the thermal coal prices.
Yeah, and you are 100% owner of that project, as I recall. Is there any good rationale to sell this project or maybe spin in the other company or JV or something? What's the plan?
Right. We have people that are interested, and it is a conversation. And if there's offers, that are reasonable, and that's sort of a consummate to what we think the project is worth, we definitely will listen. I mean, the project is worth $100 million in the past and generated several $1 million in 2021 and 2022. We're open years to potential joint venture and sell opportunity if the right one comes along. I think again in the end it's about your perspective on the thermal coal price. We're actually very bullish at thermal coal price like Glencore. And Glencore made a lot of money on thermal coal, and the reason is the advent of artificial intelligence. They are consuming power like not less in Scotland, right? Drinking water. I mean, they are siphoning power like there's no tomorrow. I mean, there was the Bitcoins first, and now this AI, there's data centers that need huge amount of power. And if you look at thermal coal generation, it's never been higher. It's peaking. It's continuing to grow in Asia, and even in Germany is talking about and restarted thermal coal power plants. So I think the better time to really divest our coal assets is, especially for asset that's production ready, mining license ready, and we spent 20 years working at the project, is looking at maybe when the thermal coal has sort of a renewed interest from the communities, and I think the multiples will be a lot higher, in the tens of millions, or maybe 100 or a triple digit million range, and that would be. And in the meantime, let's just hunker down and get Apuradita back into production, and making sure our contract gets restated, and then leaving the thermal coal as an optionality, and then consider and be a bit more precise in our timing. Next time, I think we lost an opportunity in that 2021 time frame to sell the project. There was tremendous interest from Chinese and elsewhere, but it's only in hindsight, right, Lucian? We can say
that's business.
What is?
Yeah, John. Final question: news flow from the company. What can investors and when can investors expect further news flow from the company?
Yeah, 2 points, Lucian. We talked about we have stockpiling for the news release of Apuradita mining, and stockpiling continues. We got to gather enough tonnage to make that first shipment to the toll mill, so expect that to happen imminently within June. A news release come out with the signing of an offtaker and toll milling provider, because that will complete the steps, right, to get our product to the international market. So that will be the news flow to come. One other point I do want to talk about, because David Morgan is a very good friend of mine, and I've been watching the silver market for 20 years, over 20 years. When I started when silver was actually $2.50 an ounce back in 2002. So I watched the silver market with interest. I know more about silver market than probably 99.9% of your audience. Is that cartels and industrial users, they are suppressing the market right now, because industrial users have to, because I mentioned, traditional mining supplies are working against us, because they are price indiscriminate, like they are byproduct, right? They just sell whatever. They're price takers, not price setters. But once the silver market key level of resistance overcomes the $35 level, and the dam is being broken, what's going to happen right now, I believe, Lucien, from 34 to 36, it came within 2 days. It is the hedge fund shorts that are covering right now. And the shorts are covering because their general in command is retreating. The general in command is the cartels. And the cartels has a printer, like Elon Musk. I don't know if you watch Elon Musk. He said he found 14 machines that would just print. The cartel has one of those. So the cartels, if you hear the news, like the silver pundits, right? It's, the cartels are covering. Cartels are not covering. They are not short on silver. And every time there's a rollover on every quarter, they will roll over the contract. And commercial short position is a charade, because they have commercial long position, commercial short position. They balance themselves out. So the COT position, the COT report it cannot be believed. I don't believe for a second that there's only 50,000 commercial shorts. That's the position that the cartel short in a week, and I believe that short position is 5 to 10 times higher. So the first stage of a breakout is the hedge funds. The hedge funds will first of all cover their position, because they have to cover their position. And then later on, you're going to have the industrial users continue to start physical users start accumulate because it's a critical minerals. You cannot live without silver for a solar panel, for television set, for computers, even for military. So they're gonna start stockpiling, just like Apple stockpiling cobalt. And then you're gonna get the investors' demand start coming in. The mom and pops are buying Gold Eagle, American gold coins, and they started going to the silver coins. And then you got to have some sort of the Warren Buffett stealth investors, not in the billionaires because silver market is not big enough. And that's why I think when silver go to 50, it could go to 100 because the type of investors would transition into bigger fish when there's better liquidity, right? Right now, there's not even silver for Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. So then what happened is silver is just going to continue to go up in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And as it continues to go up, it's going to draw more investors that accumulate physicals like you and me. They will study. But right now we're at the initial phase where hedge fund is covering and some critical industrial use are covering, but the investment demand has not really gotten started. And when that starts, when people are going after the silver physicals, it's going to lit up like a fire. And I will tell you what to do. What will happen is the cartels, they will start fueling the market. They have done that before. So they would start buying at the open to try to create the illusion that the FOMO, fear of losing out. They were coming hot and heavy at the Hong Kong Open at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then follow through by very heavy purchasing London when London wakes up, and then followed by very heavy purchasing by the futures market in New York to create a big blow up. So that's why, Lucia, you will see in the end when the silver market blow off in the final phase in the following weeks, you're gonna see a $5 to $10 silver per day. You're looking at 10 to 15% rise in a day. And then the cartels is going to buy the volume and reduce the number of ounces other investors buy with their money. And then so reduce their purchasing power. And when the climax is reached where you have the biggest candle, green candle, and by the highest volume, then you're going to see a big whack on the silver in volume. And then the silver top is established when you see that shrinking volume. That is really the telling signs. It's not about how silver prices move, but when you see that silver volume start to shrink and you see lower highs, that is when that's when the top is in place. Because the cartel realized investment demand is exhausted, and then industrial demand is secured. They're forward-looking sort of stockpile needed for the next 6 to 9 months. And then you have the spec position that starts selling, algo trading, selling. That's all, everything come crashing down for silver. We're not there yet. We will be there, and I'll come in your program and let you know that Tanzania. But we're not there, and you don't want to be missing out. You don't want to be selling buying 33, sell at 35. You say, you know what, it's going to go to 33 again and buy again. You're getting too cute. You're going to miss out on the boat. So I do think that next time we speak, we'll be over 50 this year. We're going to be sooner than later. Yeah.
I surely hope so. Definitely interesting times ahead for silver. Agree on that. That was John Lee, CEO of Silver Elephant Mining. John, thank you very much for coming to my show.
It's my pleasure.